Good morning and welcome to my garden. Welcome to my Grevillea garden. Yesterday I planted some kangaroo paw in the midst of my Grevillea garden. Some kangaroo paw I got at the garden show last year. This one is Bush Fury and you can see it has a red flower on it. I managed to cut it in half. So we have 2 plants in my garden, so I'm excited to have these first 2 in. Scarlet Sprite, lots of lovely little flowers under here. It's interesting that a lot of them are down low. There are a few on the tips of branches. That's interesting. All the flowers on this branch come off the side of the branch. The flower here also comes off the side of a branch. There's a flower on the tip of that one. It's interesting to take note of how different plants flower. I wonder if there'll be more flower tips appearing at the end of these. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be. You see those on the tips? And it looks like there's some more coming on the tips here. This is Firecracker. I notice again, its flowers are mainly in the centre of the plant, mainly on the sides of the branches. That's interesting because Scarlet Sprite's like that. Firecrackers like that, and Liliane is also like that. The flowers are appearing along the stem on the little branchlets that come out. They're rather pretty. In contrast, this is Soopa, and you can see its flowers are primarily at the end of the stem, but also along the branchlets that come out, but it's not so much along the stem in the centre of the plant. It's more on the tips of the branches. I notice a different leaf here, the very deeply lobed Soopa. I'm wondering if the habit of growing flowers closer along the stem is somehow related to the genetics that also causes the long, thin leaves of a Grevillea. Because that's 1, 2, 3 with that kind of leaf pattern, and they're closer to the centre of the plant. Here we've got Apricot Tingle. Yeah? Okay, Apricot Tingle also has flowers along the stem. Yes, there's some at the tip as well, but there are flowers along the stem a lot more than we saw in Soopa. I'm curious to find out if that is typical of that rosemary-shaped leaf, Rosemarinifolia. When I planted Grevillea Raptor, it was a tube stock with a stem on it that was maybe 20 centimetres long. And then it put out one great big long stem, and it just kept growing the one stem for quite a long time. I noticed yesterday it's branching out in a number of places now. So in order to encourage it to branch, I've just snipped off the tip of all these growing tips. Oh, there's one I missed. Just with my fingernail, just snip it like that, and it's a nice clean cut. That will encourage it to branch all along the stem. Grevillea Raptor makes a ground cover about 2 metres round. It's time to work on my Grevillea garden. The neighbours have slashed and have given me permission to collect what has been slashed. So I'm going to be cleaning up my Grevillea garden. You can see that we've got a lot of grass here that's overgrown or grown really thickly around some plants. Got other places where I put down some mulch because I had it. Some of this wood chip went straight onto grass and the result is pretty heartbreaking. I really need to dig all this grass out. Down here, I've had a couple of plants die, a couple of little ground covers down here. They really didn't function well down here. It seems to me that I'm going to need to keep the small ground covers right at the front. The idea of having ground covers keeping down grass and providing ground cover in the middle of this bed might be something I have to rethink, or I have to plant some of the really big ones below the slope and just have the really small ones along the front edge. Weeding's a kind of job that can really be hard on your body, on your knees, on your hands. I struggle with both. And so I'm keen to do it just a little bit each day. I've already got my load of slashed grass. So I'll be just clearing up some of this space this morning, just enough to put down the grass I've collected. I have spent the best part of 2 hours weeding here, and it's been hard work. Around here, where the wood chip was dropped directly on the grass, it's just growing through and it's really hard. So this larger runner grass is quite easy to pull back, but this small cooch, it's just a nightmare. And of course it goes all through here. And then when you dig it away down the bottom, you've got all the roots coming through. So I've decided enough is enough. I found some cardboard boxes in the garage, and I'm just layering the cardboard boxes underneath the mulch that I've collected. And so you can see I've got it on about 40 centimetres thick. I'm not going to put any more down without cardboard boxes. So this load can stay here until I get some more boxes. I have tip pruned firecracker here. Just little bits, that one. And some of these taller ones, just taking off the little bits to encourage a lot more growth in the centre, encourage it to be really thick. Firecracker is one of those plants that is said to be good for birds because it's got such a thick habit. The birds like to go inside and nest inside that thick habit, and pruning it, just tip pruning it a little bit, will encourage it to thicken up. I've been cleaning up my Grevillea garden, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to clean it up. And I find myself realising just how much work it is to keep it clean, particularly in the formative stage. It might look nice and neat now, but look at all that. There's a lot of work to do there. And so I wonder if there's an easier way to establish a garden. I mean, all this digging out of weeds is such hard work. I've used some cardboard, but the grass seems to grow through it or around it and then come through it. And then we learn about forever chemicals that are used in the cardboard making process. And so I choose cardboard that doesn't have a shiny surface and doesn't have colours on it. But still, is it safe? I don't know. The establishment of a garden is the hard part. When you're first getting it going and when you're first taking over the area that used to be for grass, that's the hard part. I put pavers along the edge, but the cooch is managing to get under and continue into the garden. And in some spaces it's been quite a mess. So I've heard you can mulch with cardboard, and so that's what I've chosen to do. And then I've used the plants that I've pruned to weigh down the cardboard and to make it look a little bit better. I did have cardboard all around Apricot Tingle and orange marmalade here, but then it occurred to me, how are they going to get water? I was inspired by watching a YouTube video that someone found that a series of his plants were dying because they didn't have enough water because of the thick layer of mulch that he'd put around them. So how do I keep the grass out? Okay, well, the grass that's causing the most distress is the cooch that's getting from the yard into the garden. And so I've decided to put cardboard on the uphill side. That should also act like a bit of a berm to catch the water and make it sink in here, which should help the plants. Below the plants, it can still be mowed until I get more plants there, and then I can sheet it with cardboard, with wood chip and whatever else I find at the time. But for now, I'll only be putting cardboard around the edges of the yard to keep the cooch out of the garden. You may remember I put down a layer of wood chip and it looked beautiful for a time. And now it looks like this. So I have changed what I intend to do back to what I should have done in the first place. I only work with the areas that you've got the energy to keep clean. This was a lovely thick layer of wood chip all the way down around that silky oak that didn't survive transplanting, and it was very thick and it was going to be great for the grevilleas, except the weeds think it's also great for them too. So I've now got a horrible weed problem to deal with. And this is a set of steps, or rather will be. But every time I clean out all the weeds, they come back, especially these ones that have got some really nasty spines on them. And it's quite difficult and painful to remove them, and it's coming closer and closer. Before I put the wood chip down, it was just a grassed hill. And hubby could mow it, and he kept it mowed, and it looked nice like this. But now there's wood chip in the road, it can't be mowed, and so I've got cobbler's pegs and those spiky weeds and other things. Yeah, don't prepare a garden bed ahead of time. Only do what you can do at the time you can do it.